Hello everyone, my name is Sue Reynolds and I serve as president of the American Student Achievement Institute, and today's webcast is designed to cover an overview of the new SI2 system. This webcast is designed for SI2 alumni schools, and its purpose is to introduce changes in the school improvement system. Specifically, we're going to look at the organizational structure, the vision action process, and the SI2 survey. I think you'll be very, very pleased with the changes that you see. Most of them were suggested by our SI2 alumni schools, so I think they're these changes are very, very strong, and I think you'll really like them. So first, let's look at the organizational structure. So one thing we wanted to point out is that there is no change to the makeup of the school improvement steering team. So we're still looking at a steering team with 6 members, principal, 2 teachers, and in the middle in the high school we'd like one of those teachers to be a math teacher, school counselor, a parent, and a representative from your community that is involved with economic development. Then the steering team training format has changed, so we're specifically now talking about the training for the steering team. In our old model, with our first-year teams, we would do face-to-face workshops, and then with our alumni teams, we would do a series of webinars. In this model, we're going to do kind of a flipped curriculum, if you will. So what we'll do is each month we'll provide for you a webcast that will cover content related to the tasks that you're doing that month. And your steering team in your school or in your living rooms or wherever will watch that webcast. We suggest you watch that webcast together as a team, but that's not necessary. If you can't get together, each person could watch it individually. That webcast will be archived so that you can watch it at any time. Then, a week after we provide that webcast, we'll hold an online learning community. Your school will be participating in that online learning community with steering team members from across the state, from schools across the state. And what we'll do is we'll talk about the content of the webcast, not to represent it, but just to maybe to touch on any little things that might be confusing. But most of that learning community will be a chance for you to ask questions, a chance for you to talk about the cool things that are going on in your schools, to ask questions of other schools, to throw out challenges that you're having that our staff can respond to or that other schools could respond to. So, so it's each month it'll be kind of a 2-part training. The first part is to watch the webcast where we'll do the content, and then we'll come together as this learning community to discuss the content and to answer questions and just see how things are going in your schools. So to support all of this, we've also made some changes to the online system. This format we've been using in some of our other initiatives and it's been very, very well received. So basically, when you log in and then click on SI2 process on the left-hand column, you'll come to this page, and the first year we're going to ask all of our schools, including the alumni schools, to just walk through year 1. So that basically means that all of our alumni schools are going to become Cycle 1 schools this year. As a reminder, we're on a 3-year cycle, and in year 1 you do the survey and you redo your vision statement. We would like everybody to be Cycle 1 this year because we're making some changes to the survey that we think are going to be beneficial to everybody. So everybody will be Cycle 1 this year. Then when you click on the year 1 tab here, then what you'll do is you'll just walk through these steps. So the first step of getting organized, which is your September task, is to read an introduction, and then we'll have a webcast for you to watch. This will be the webcast. That's the first half of the training for the steering team. And then you'll participate in the learning community. And if you click this icon in the Enter column, that will take you to the page where you will register for that webinar. And then the rest of this is kind of familiar to you, should be. It's just there's always a verb in this column that tells you what to do, and then you'll go through and do those activities. Remember, there's icons in the Enter column, and then the Reports column, and then finally here's where you'll submit your work when it's ready for us to look at. So that's pretty it. It's pretty straightforward. And the other thing that we like to point out on this page is that really all you need are these three blue tabs. SI2 uses tells us which of the which cycle you're in, if you're cycle 1, 2, or alumni 1, 2, or 3. And then the process tab would take you to this page, and then the manual tab will take you to the manual that corresponds to each of the month's activities that you're doing. The rest of these tabs I like to refer to them as shortcut tabs. So they're just places where you can, take a shortcut. But a lot of times we find that schools only use these top three tabs, and predominantly the process tab. Don't forget too that we have this nice feature now so that when you go through, as you complete a step, you just check it off, and it kind of keeps you right on task. So that's some of the changes we've made to the online system. I think you'll find this very, very user-friendly. Again, we've been using this format in our other initiatives and have gotten a lot of really good feedback from schools about how easy it is to use. Okay, then when it comes time for local discussions, this is where we're making a big change. We've heard from schools about how time is at a premium, and we've watched as many schools have combined their full faculty meeting with their community council meeting, and are meeting with both of those groups together as one. So we decided to go ahead and incorporate that into our process. So we are now combining the full faculty and the community council into one group, and that new group will be called the School Improvement Team. So we have the steering team that's facilitating all of the discussions, and then we have the School Improvement Team that's having those discussions. Another change is that instead of requiring all teachers to be involved in these conversations, we're going to ask that all teachers are invited to participate so that everybody has an opportunity to have a voice in this process. So all teachers will be invited to participate in the School Improvement Team, and all community members will be invited to participate in the School Improvement Team. Remember, we think that one of the strengths of SI2 is that it engages everybody in these discussions. So we think it's very, very important to invite all teachers and all community members to participate in the discussions. Remember, we're going to provide tools to make the discussions easy. Even if you have a gazillion people on your School Improvement Team, we'll be able to provide you tools for making those discussions relatively easy. So then another change, a big change, is how we're going to have those discussions with the School Improvement Team, what used to be the full faculty and the community council. So in the old SI2, you had face-to-face discussions where you would bring in your full faculty, or you'd bring in your community council, you'd toss out inquiry questions, present a PowerPoint that we had provided, and then discuss data or discuss vision or whatever. In the new model, Everything will be online discussions. Again, we think that's going to save you a lot of time. You won't have the prep time for those meetings, nor will you have to convene meetings where people are meeting face-to-face. So the online discussions are going to be a lot like Facebook discussions. People will be able to enter comments. Their names will go on those comments. From your school improvement team, and then also they'll be able to agree with comments that other people have made. So I'll show you how that'll work in a minute. But the other thing I wanted to point out, another difference then, is that where the local team, the local steering team, had to facilitate all of those meetings and discussions in the old way, in the new way, it'll be ASA that's facilitating the discussions online. We will present a topic through a short webcast. And we'll also, depending on what the discussion is, we will provide links to data from your school and resources that we would like your school improvement team members to look at before they enter into the discussion. And then we'll provide a discussion prompt. So, for example, when we get to goals, we might we'll do a short presentation as what is a goal and what's measurable, and how in SI2 how do we express data. Then we'll provide a link to your school's data, and then we'll provide discussion prompts where people can talk about the data. So it's the same kind of format, it's just that we'll be just doing everything online, which I think is going to save you a lot of time. So here's what the system looks like for these online discussions. So there will be the topic, and this one happens to be vision. There will be a little bit of discussion about what vision is. Then there will be a set of pre-race tasks, and that tells people what to do. You know, read the introduction, watch this webcast, and then consider these things. And then there will be the webcast itself, so they'll just press start and it'll take off. And then here's where the discussion prompts will appear. And in this case, you can see after this little webcast, there's 4 discussion prompts. And you know, this first question probably looks familiar to you. We've used it for years. What do all students deserve in order to be successful? So people would read the discussion prompt, and then they would have a chance to enter their ideas into a text box. As they enter their ideas, here's what it will look like. So Jane Doe said that all students deserve a rigorous curriculum. 3 people have agreed with her. Joe Smith said all students deserve extra help, and 15 people agreed with him. So you can kind of see that this is getting a lot of play. There's a lot of interest in this belief. San Jones said that all students deserve high expectations, and so far nobody's like that one. So this is how people will have discussions, that they can enter their comments, and then they can agree with other people's comments. Okay, so that's how the discussions will happen with your school improvement team. And again, just to summarize, your full faculty and your community council are now one group called the school improvement team, and that group will begin having all of its discussions online instead of face-to-face. We believe that this is going to save you a lot of time, and we also believe that this is going to engage a lot more people in the discussions. Just a note that people will not be able to make comments unless they're a member of your school improvement team, so they'll have to join the school improvement team before they can participate in this. And there will be lots of tools for your steering team to be able to manage this from your administrative end. Okay, let's go on. Then we just wanted to point out that with the student body, we are not going to make any changes. There will still be discussion prompts that the students talk about face-to-face. So we really think there's some richness in getting the kids personally involved in these discussions. Lots of energy, lots of great ideas coming from the kids. So for their part of the discussion, we'll still be doing that part as we've always done with face-to-face discussions. Okay, so that's the organizational structure and a little bit about the training and the local discussions. Now let's look at the vision action process. Most of the process has stayed exactly the same. We are changing some of the terminology because we want to make sure that we are aligned in our terminology with the Indiana Department of Education's terminology. So as they've started to use new terms in talking about school improvement, we're incorporating those terms into our work as well. So here are the different steps. A pre-discussion step is to get ready. That involves putting together the steering team, delegating tasks, just like we always have done, and then collecting data, specifically giving the survey, and answering some of those short answer questions. Okay, so we're getting ready, and then the second part of getting ready is just looking at your local organizational structure. So there we'll be talking about your school improvement team, and figuring out who you're going to invite, how you're going to get the word out to folks, making sure that you've got all the right folks at the table so that you're going to have a real rich discussion, making sure that the makeup of your school improvement team mirrors the makeup of your community in terms of economic level, race, ethnicity, all of that. So, so part two of getting ready is organizational structure, and we'll do that in October. Then in November, we'll start to get ready for your first discussion with your school improvement team. And remember that that discussion is going to happen online. So your prep is very, very easy. We anticipate that what you'll be doing is just working within our system to set dates of when you want that discussion to open and when you want it to close, and then our system will shoot out emails to everybody saying it's time to participate in these discussions. Please go online and enter your 2 cents worth. So first discussion is about intro, just an introduction to vision to action. The second discussion, which will happen in December, is about vision. That discussion will be pretty much the same as we've always had our vision discussions. The only difference is now the discussion is going to be online. Then in January, we'll have a discussion about goals. And I wanted to point out this is a place where the terminology has changed. We in the past have called these achievement data targets. We're now calling them goals. And we're using 2 new terms to align with DOE. We're using the terms primary areas for improvement and then SMART goals. And these are actually the same thing that we've always been using with SI2. In the past, we called those broad data targets like math or English, so those are primary areas for improvement, your broad data targets. And then your more specific data targets will be your SMART goals. And SMART goals, just like your data targets, will specify who's going to improve, what the baseline data is, what the target data is, what the follow-up data is, and then the dates that we'll check and evaluate to see if those goals are driving. So so really no changes here, just different terminology. Okay, then in February, we'll move on to what we are now calling the root cause analysis. Our old language, we called this the force field analysis, but it was exactly the same thing. DOE is using the terms root cause, and we want to make sure that we're in alignment with DOE so that when you have conversations with DOE, everybody's speaking the same language. So we're calling these root causes, and again, your root causes are the reasons that students have not reached your goals. So it may be that the students aren't engaged, or you're not really teaching a rigorous curriculum, or there's no opportunities for extra help. So we'll help you look at all those root causes to determine what the root causes are. And again, in the old days, we called this a force field analysis. We did a force field survey, and you identified your forces. Now you're doing a root cause analysis. You'll have a root cause survey, and we're identifying your root causes. So same thing, it's just different terminology. One little difference is we have always based our data on ASA's Elements of High Achieving Schools, which are based on our experience with schools over the last 20 years of helping them to improve, but also based on literature. We're going to incorporate into this root cause analysis DOE's turnaround principles. We think it's important that each of our schools, no matter if you're a high achieving school or a struggling school, we think that each of our schools should look at the turnaround principles and to do really a self-study on how is your school incorporating those turnaround principles in your school. And of course then, as you do this root cause analysis, if there is a turnaround principle that you need to work on, then you can incorporate that into the interventions that you put in place to raise achievement. And that then brings us to the next step, which is to begin to explore interventions. So for example, again, back on root causes, if you've decided that student engagement, lack of student engagement is a root cause, then we want you to explore best practices in that area. So we'll give you lots of different resources to explore best practices, but one of them is the conference. So this year's conference is happening on February 26th. The format of the conference will be similar to in the past. We'll have two nationally known keynote presenters, one in the morning and one at lunch. The photos on the screen are of some of our past keynoters, so you can see we've gotten some pretty well-known people to present. And then the rest of the day will be breakout sessions featuring Indiana educators and community members who are implementing proven practices. And so we like to think when you come to the conference that you're shopping for strategies. So you've identified what your root causes are. Now let's go shop for strategies. What are we going to do about it? So we hope you all will register early for the conference. This year the Indiana College Success Coalition will again have some free registrations for folks. If you're not involved with your county's College Success Coalition, I strongly recommend that you get involved. There's a lot of advantages for doing that, one of which is that they have some no-cost registrations for our conference. Okay, so after you have explored the interventions, then the next step is to determine which interventions you're going to put in place. Again, there's a terminology change in here. In the old days, we called this strategies. We're now calling it interventions. So you'll identify the interventions that you're going to use, and you'll develop those interventions. So you'll come up with, who's going to do what by when, develop your timeline. You'll align the interventions with your root causes, and remember your root causes then are aligned with your goals, so everything will be aligned in there. So that's interventions. You'll determine what you're going to do in order to impact those root causes and then have ultimately an impact on your goals, your academic goals. And then the final step, and this is again a little bit different, is preparation. In the old model, we incorporated preparation as part of intervention. And one of the things that we wanted to begin seeing was more emphasis in more well-developed professional development in our schools. So what we've done is we've just kind of now separated professional development out into a step all by itself, or pretty much by itself, called preparation. So in preparation, after you know what your interventions are, then we're going to have a step that says, okay, what skills and knowledge does our staff need or does our community need to implement this intervention fully and with integrity? And then how are we going to provide that? So we'll have a team looking at that, and then also as we look at the professional development, we'll also develop an annual calendar for your school to make sure that all the interventions get in place That calendar will drive your work in the coming year. And then the final part is that for some of your interventions you may need resources. You may need funding, you may need time, materials. So part of preparation is to get all of the resources that you need as well, so you can make sure that those interventions get in place. So again, we really wanted to emphasize quality work in this preparation step, and we felt that separating that out into a step by itself would help you be able to do that. Okay, so that's kind of the process. Again, reviewing the vocabulary changes, we've gone from achievement data targets to goals, and then from broad data targets and specific data targets to primary areas for improvement and SMART goals. Then in the force field section, we've changed from force field to root cause. And then we're incorporating all the turnaround principles now into that, as well as our elements of high achieving schools. And then terminology, strategy, we're now calling intervention. So I think it'll take all of us, including our staff, a little time to get used to these new terms, but I trust that in a few months we'll all forget the old terms and the new terms will just roll off our tongues. So it's just part of making sure that we're aligned with the Indiana Department of Education, which we think is very, very important, that we're supporting the goals that they have for you and helping you meet those expectations. Okay, one little thing about the survey, and we've kind of been talking about this, is that our survey in the past primarily was based on the ASA elements of high achieving schools. We also made sure that you were doing a quick self-study in that survey of the PO 221 requirements, and just now we're adding in DOE's turnaround principles to really make sure that you've thought about not only the things that we think are important for you to think about, but also the things that the Department of Ed feels that are important for you to consider. Okay, just a couple other things. If your school has not yet enrolled in SI2, we need you to do that right away. So we are going to be assigning learning communities in the next week or so. So if you haven't enrolled, we really need to make sure that you've done that. So to enroll, just a reminder, and this is also something that's new, it's an online enrollment this year, so you would just go to our website /SI2. And our drop dead date for you to enroll, if you remember, the deadline actually was last spring, but our total drop dead date is August 29th. Immediately after that, we're going to be signing learning community cohorts. So we've got to make sure that you're in by then so that we can get that all done in the online system. So it's pretty easy. You just go in and put in your school's name and the contact name, and then just select the services that you're seeking from us, and then just hit save, and then you're done. So it should take just a couple seconds. Please do that right away. And then the other thing we wanted to make you aware of, we're really excited about this. As you may be aware, we have not taken a new cohort of first-year schools for a couple of years as we've been expanding some of our other initiatives, but we would like to take a first-year cohort this year. So we have a campaign that is kind of, we nicknamed it the Recruit a School campaign, and basically this is how it works. If you recruit another school, both your school and the school that you recruited will be able to participate in SI2 for half price. So we think that's pretty cool. We're really excited about building a new cohort, and we thought this is a good way to get the word out. As you may be aware, we've never advertised very much for SI2 or INSAE that we used to be called. It's pretty much word of mouth. So we're hoping that this will encourage you to tell other schools in your district, or if you have friends, in other districts, to just let them know that they can come in for half price as well as you can come in for half price this year if you recruit them. When the schools fill out their application, there is a question that says, were you referred by another school? And they'll say yes, and then it'll say which school referred you, and they'll start to type in your school's name, and then your school's name will pop up. So yeah, so we're real excited about this, and you know, you all have helped us so much over the last 20 years grow from being a starting nonprofit to, you know, a nonprofit that serves about 400 schools, 400 steering teams right now. So we're, you know, we're just so grateful for your help in helping us grow over the years, and we really hope that you'll talk to your superintendent or other principals in your district and just let them know about some of the changes in our system, which should make this a lot less time consuming. But then also that there's this discount that if they sign up now, they can get. So we would like this recruitment to happen until September 3rd. Our, you know, first workshops and webinars start in the beginning of September, so we want to make sure that everybody gets in so that nobody misses that first webinar. Okay, so that's Recruit a School, and just thank you in advance for helping us do that. It really means a lot to us, the support that you give us in this way. And then finally, we will be having a new principal webinar this year. It'll be August 3rd. We know that when your principal is new, that he or she comes into a school that has a well-tuned and humming school improvement team and school improvement process. But a lot of new principals have questions. They'd like to chat with us, and understandably, and they'd like to hear us go through the process with them, and we're eager to do that. So if you have a new principal, or this could also be for a new steering team member, just anyone that you would like to become familiar with SI2 and with our organization, ASA, just have them register and come to this webinar on August 3rd. Oops, not August 3rd. What am I saying? My control panel is covering up half of that. I think it is. Oops. Oh, now I've just totally lost it. And things were going so smoothly. What is it? August 30th. If you can register for the August 30th, not August 3rd, August 30th webinar, that would be great. Okay, so, and then where to register in the August update, the August SI2 update, we gave you a link to where people can go in to register for that webinar. So, okay, so finally, if you have questions, you know that Mary Beth Granderson is your strategic planning specialist for SI2. So any questions at all, including how to register for the new principals workshop or webinar, or how to enroll in SI2, just give Mary Beth a call or send her an email. As you know, Mary Beth loves doing this work, and she's always eager to help. You're never bothering her. Don't forget the 5-second rule, that if you're ever confused for 5 seconds, you're required to call us. Yeah, so please, please feel free to contact Mary Beth. You're also welcome to give me a call. I may be a little bit harder to reach than Mary Beth, but feel free to give me a call as well if you have a question. And my phone number is the same as Mary Beth's. So I think that concludes this webcast. We are very, very excited about these changes. We've just been just so excited about launching this. I'm sure that you'll have feedback for us as we go through the year. We always look forward to that, because I think that's what's made us successful, is that all the steering teams that we've worked with have been so eager to help us understand what we can do to make it all better for you. And so please tell us as we go through this new system what's confusing, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, so that we can continue to improve as we go. So that's it. Thank you very much, and look forward to meeting with you all this year. I will be facilitating the webinars, so I'll be able to chat with you live every month, and then I'll also be preparing the webcasts for you. Those webcasts will come out a week before each of the webinars. So you'll have about a week for your steering team to watch them before they come to the webinar. So again, any questions, feel free to give Mary Beth a call, and thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for participating in the School Improvement Institute. We always think that our SIT schools go the extra mile, and I know that it makes a difference in the lives of your students.